Hey guys, it's Holly, and today we'll be having a look at set 76415, The Battle for Hogwarts. Now this set contains 730 pieces and retails for $80 US, 140 Australian, and 75 Great British pounds. And straight off the bat, my first impressions of this thing were not overly all that positive. I'm not a massive fan of the modular Hogwarts system, so to get another set, I was a little bit tired and exhausted of it at this point, even though it is Deathly Hallows Part 2 themed. However, this set really did surprise me, and I am incredibly impressed. This set comes with 6 different minifigures and can actually be designed one of 2 ways. The main one kind of being the proper Battle for Hogwarts courtyard scene. However, on the back of the box it shows that you can kind of change the layout into a bridge battle, which really takes advantage of the whole modular system that LEGO has been doing over the last couple of years. The set 2 comes complete with some brand new wand and spell pieces, which are incredibly cool and offer something really different and special for fans like myself who've been collecting for a really long time. And those wand pieces are really what I want to talk about first, as they are probably the most interesting and exciting thing in this set for me. Now, straight off the bat, the wand is a lot thicker and a little bit longer as well than the original mold from 2018 was, and justifiably so as well. It needs to have an entire kind of stud placed on the end, and this whole thing is attached, and unlike the previous ones as well, they don't come in like a little stick. However, you do get one spare, which is really nice. Alongside the wand, there are some brand new spell pieces, which are very similar to the Power Blast pieces from LEGO Marvel and the superhero lines. However, unlike those, these are made of the much more kind of typical solid LEGO plastics. That being said, these things are incredibly top heavy and constantly make Voldemort and Harry fall over. I just think that's really the nature of just how kind of like long and skinny the wand is, and then having the spell on the end. They just constantly keep falling over. The only ones I really like using are the ones with the kind of giant circles on the end, just because they can kind of rest on the floor and still make it look like they're dueling. Any other piece is really just a disaster, which is quite unfortunate because I think they look really, really cool. Kicking off the minifigures though, first up we have Harry, who is slightly different to the Room of Requirement version since they actually upgraded his legs to a different color, which is far more accurate. It's a little bit picky, but I would have liked to have seen a new scuffed up face print for Harry, but given how many new prints this set has, I can definitely see why they didn't. It's a really small detail too, but I really like how LEGO gave Harry the black wand rather than his typical dark brown to properly match the fact that he has Dracos in this scene rather than his own, since it's broke and whatever. It's such a small little thing, but a much appreciated detail for me. The Voldemort in this set as well is absolutely amazing. He looks incredible, and I really love the sand green dress they went for with him. Some back dress printing of course would have made him look even better, but honestly I don't think it was needed, and he still looks absolutely incredible without it. The only issue I have with Voldemort, which again is kind of a minor thing, is that his one color is technically inaccurate. They gave him just that standard kind of typical white that you would expect from Voldemort. However, of course, in this scene, Voldemort is fighting with the Elder Wand. Having the tan one would have just made him absolutely perfect, since then it matches the color that Dumbledore's had throughout this entire theme. But look, it's a minor thing, I'll let it slide, but that is something that I noticed. Next up is Neville, who comes complete with the Sword of Gryffindor as well as a wand. Interestingly enough as well, this Neville is actually different to the one that was featured in the advent calendar in 2022. He's got a brand new face and a brand new torso design. I really thought they would have repeated the torso. I think it could have saved a little bit on creating a new print here. However, that being said, I much prefer this version, which is mostly though due to the detail on the face. I think the facial expressions look amazing. Next up is Scabior, who is a brand new, never done before character, and I think he looks great. One of my favorite details on the minifigure is the smudged eyeliner that is on his face. It really gives him kind of like a grungy look, which given just the amount of detail on a minifigure face is incredibly impressive and perfectly captures the look of the character. He has this little weird like feet print on his toes though. I don't know what was going on there, but the rest of his torso and leg printing is absolutely fantastic. After the disappointment of the minifigure from the Burrow, Molly Weasley has had a much needed upgrade with her minifigure featuring dress printing. Finally, it is really, really nice as well. That bit of extra detail makes a massive difference on her and really makes the minifigure just feel that little bit more complete. The biggest issue I have with Molly is that I really feel like she needed a new face print to match the context of the set. Having 2 massive smiling faces in a set that depicts scenes where her family are in danger and literally being attacked just really does not match at all, especially given what happens in this scene? LEGO have been upgrading a lot of the Harry Potter faces recently, which is really, really nice to see. However, I feel like we could have skipped over upgrading Cedric from the Harry Potter Hogwarts banners and given Molly a new face instead, since I feel like hers is much more needed. Lastly, we have Bellatrix, and sadly she did not get quite the same love and continues to have a plain black skirt print. LEGO, however, did actually upgrade her arms, giving us dual molding to kind of represent her sleeves a little bit better, and as nice as I think that is, I really think the skirt was much more necessary. That being said, I think the minifigure selection overall is the strongest and most accurate we have had from LEGO Harry Potter in a very long time, and it is absolutely amazing to see. While I've never been the biggest fan of the modular layout, I cannot deny how well the concept of it has lent itself into this set's design. The designers really used the concept of the modular castle to their advantage with this set, making it incredibly easy to take bits off and make it look like the set is actually being damaged. Everything can be removed really simply, so you can kind of have debris lying around, but it still connects in a really, really nice way. Outside of that as well, I think this is definitely one of the more detailed models that they've done out of the modular line. I feel like some of the early ones were very, very basic, and then slowly over time they have improved, and this really shows that. The first section I want to talk about though is these archways that are kind of like the wings of the set. Both of them are mirrors of each other and actually connect to the set using this brick with some tiny bar pieces, which I think is really genius because it meant that you could clip it as wings, but you can actually also kind of rearrange it and make like an entire viaduct bridge and just have them kind of smooshed up against each other. You could also add them side by side to make a really long section if you really wanted to, and I feel like just having these two pieces have a lot of customization is incredibly cool. Next up are these small side modules. Now there is kind of two portions to the roof with this. There's just a really stock standard part and then a little top bit with some candles and a little bit of an archway. This can all be taken apart as well in different sections. You can take off the top and then the tower and kind of rotate it and swap it around, which is really neat and does come in handy later. The sections underneath are pretty similar to each other as well. There are some very minor kind of cosmetic changes between the two of them, but basically the entire idea is the same. On the inside of them as well, they are both meant to represent portions of the Great Hall. However, just like the bridges, there's really not a lot of space inside of here. The first one features a fireplace, which is kind of built up against the rock work, and then it has that tiny little table, but really there's not a lot besides that, and it feels very bland. And then the second portion of the Great Hall is kind of similar. I mean, there's a teacup and a little plate that is on top of the table this time around, and at the back there is a giant stickered panel that kind of represents the Great Hall a little bit more. I really think that panel was very much needed, but honestly I think these two sides could have just been completely empty, and I don't think it would have changed the set all that much. Lastly is the Great Tower in the middle. Starting off at the bottom, there is this section with some giant doors, and by giant doors I mean very tiny doors. I mean, these are meant to be the doors to the Great Hall, and kind of given the scale of the modular Hogwarts castle, they look incredibly tiny, especially in comparison to a minifigure. But the build for it is really nice. There are steps leading up to it and steps leading down, but again, there's not a lot of space on the inside. When we move up a little bit, it's kind of just like the entire clockwork archway, but again, the exterior looks really nice on this model. There's an empty interior, but the best part about it is that the actual panel where the clock is double-sided. There's a sticker on each side, so you can have one where the clock is completely beautiful, and then you can pop it out and swap it around, and then the clockwork is entirely damaged and destroyed, which is really, really cool. To top it all off, there is this tiny roof section, and this top bit can fall off so easily. It is attached by a single jumper plate. I have knocked this off and it has fallen off so many times, which is kind of the downside to this entire castle being able to be battle damaged, but this piece in particular is one that I always knock off, and it's kind of a little bit frustrating. Otherwise, the roof doesn't really have a lot going on. There's not even any studs on the plate this time around, which is kind of interesting. I thought they would have put some cheese slopes on here just to give it a little bit of texture. Despite the size and the price of this set, it does actually take up a lot of kind of surface area and shelf space. It still fits really nicely onto my shelves if I wanted to display it. However, I do actually have to take off kind of just the top two bricks of this little peak here, or I can just take off this entire module and have it be a little bit damaged, which I think is a much better method. Like a lot of the other modulars, it is very skinny and feels a bit two-dimensional, and that really just comes down to the whole modular castle design in general. I want to say that it's got that dollhouse feel, but I think because the interior is so empty, it kind of plays to more of a backdrop for play. Like, you kind of just play in front of it and the castle's just there looking pretty in the background, which isn't necessarily that bad, but I feel like for a play set, this actually doesn't have a lot of play value value in it. For someone like me who likes to display their sets, I really like this. I love how customizable it is. I love that you can mix things around and make it look destroyed, and the fact that you have 2 different models as well is really interesting. I went into this set expecting to be disappointed, and I am really glad that this set impressed me. I am really impressed with this, and I think this is definitely one of the best modular castles that they've done. When it comes to the price though, I do feel a little bit ripped off. I mean, even just looking at the box size, like this is the same size as the Privet Drive set, and that for me was 40 Australian dollars less. So I don't think that this really lives up to the value here when it comes to the money. I really feel like if you're getting this on sale, you probably would be a little bit happier, but even then, I think it has to be quite a steep discount to really feel like you're getting a lot for your money. Even though kind of all built out, it is quite wide and a little bit tall. There's just not a lot of depth to it, and I feel like that makes it feel a lot cheaper than you probably should feel with this price point. Overall, I think this set is amazing, and I just wish it didn't take us this long to get some really good modular buildings. I mean, this is like the 3rd year that they've been doing this now, and I feel like we've only just started to hit the nail on the head. But let me know what you think about this set in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for some more Harry Potter reviews. And until next time guys, I'll see you later.